Discuss 4 budgeting methods, clearly outlining the advantages and disadvantages. 20 marks. Discuss in detail 5 sources of finance for an entrepreneur and 5 things that a lender will consider before advancing credit to an entrepreneur. So when we're talking about budgeting, we talk about this in financial accounting. So what is budgeting? What is budgeting? By definition, we use this terminology time and again. What is budgeting? Talking about budgeting, talking about a financial tool that individuals or entrepreneurs or organizations use when they are allocating resources. So this is widely used everywhere. We're going to talk about the types of budgeting and advantages of each of them. So by definition, I said budgeting is simply what? A financial tool that organizations use. It involves creating a plan on how to manage your income. It involves creating a plan how to manage expenditure. So the primary purpose of budgeting is to ensure that the resources are allocated efficiently according to the strategic goals. So why do we budget? To avoid what? Overspending, to live within our means. So budgeting is effective because it is essential for forecasting our future needs and managing uncertainty. Okay. So budgeting is important and has different types of budgeting that we have. So we have what we call incremental budgeting. We have what we call zero budgeting. We have what we call activity-based budgeting. We also have what we call a rolling budget. So for each of these ones, we talk about the advantages and disadvantages. So let's start with incremental budgeting. What is incremental budgeting? This is a type of budgeting which uses a traditional approach of the current or the previous years found as a foundation. Most of government agencies just make slight adjustments. So this is incremental budget. So last year we used this and this year, especially these days, donors don't want people to remit, either you reduce. So these are due to changes in inflation because we're doing the same program. Advantages are that it's simple, it's stable, it's efficient. In simplicity, the incremental changes are easy to implement, particularly you're just adding or subtracting. In terms of stability, to provide you a consistent and predictable way of doing that, so departments will know what they expect accordingly. So it's also efficient because not only will you look at it on previous changes made to reduce what amount and resources that we require in the process. The disadvantages is that it encourages waste. So assuming past expenditures were waste, you contributing waste. It also discourages innovation. You don't think out of the box, right? So it's also misaligned with the environment. It may not reflect the current operational needs. So we look at another type of budgeting, which we call the zero. Another kind of budgeting, which is called the zero what? The zero-based budget. Who can tell me what the zero-based budgeting is all about? Read about the zero-based budgeting. So this is a kind of budgeting where expenses must be justified for each new period. So it starts from scratch, from zero. So every activity must be analyzed for its needs and costs. Disadvantage is efficient because it focuses on justifying every expenditure. It reduces wastage. It also promotes accountability, where managers are required to evaluate the operations closely. It's also better suited for dynamic environments where there are always changing needs. The disadvantage is that it's time-consuming and complex, and resistant to change that staff may continuously scrutinize the activities. There's a lot of rigidity. This is on the zero based budgeting. We also have what we call the activity-based budgeting. Activity-based budgeting, what is involved in there? So activity-based budgeting, we have what? Activities that okay. So we have activity-based budgeting. This is based on what activities? It's kind of budgeting where you assign costs to activities that are needed to produce and sell products and services. So it links cost to a specific activity, then budgets accordingly. So the advantages of this activity-based budgeting is that there is control when it comes to costs. There's strategic alignment because you align the spending to objectives. There's also improved decision making because it offers a more accurate and detailed cost insights. Its advantages is that it is data intensive, it's complex to implement, and it's time consuming. All right, we also have other types of budgeting, which we call the rolling budget. A rolling budget is simply a continuous budget. So what type of a budget is a rolling budget? It's a type of budget that is continuous throughout the year. It is a 1 month or quarter. As 1 month ends or quarter ends, a new budget is added. So it ensures that the budget is always covering a future period. So advantages are that it's up to date, it reflects the current and trending changes and circumstances. It encourages frequent review, so managers will stay engaged with the financial performance. It's flexible and quick to respond. So its advantages is that it's short-term focus. So there are too many frequent adjustments. It's complex sometimes and difficult to manage, right? So those are the types of budgets that we have. So what are some of the sources of finance for an entrepreneur? Entrepreneur has a number of sources of finance. So like a sole trader. So entrepreneurs will rely for different types of finances depending on the type of stage they are at, whether they are the startup, the expansion, or operational. So the first is what? The personal savings. So money can be saved from their previous earnings. So the advantage is that there's no repayment required. So it's not a loan, it's your money. You have control over that money. You have full ownership. There's quick access without waiting for approval. The only disadvantage is that it's limited in capital, it may not be enough, and also there's high personal risk, which may lead to financial hardships. What other source do you think an entrepreneur may get funds? What other sources of funding do entrepreneurs have? The banks. So they get a bank loan to finance their projects. So the advantage is that you can get huge sums that are within your capacity, and there are structured payment plans that you can agree on. And also to allow for funds to upscale your businesses. The disadvantage is that they will need collateral and the interest that you accumulate, and there are strict qualifications for you to get such a kind of funding. So we also have other sources like venture capital. What is venture capital? This is funding that comes from what? Investors in exchange for equity, the owners of a particular entity. So this venture capital has its own advantages and disadvantages. So advantages that you may have expert support. So investors may bring in not only money, but their networks and expertise. And some of them may have large capital, which will be suitable for your growth. And there's no interest needed. The only problem is that you lose control, and you now share ownership, and you dilute what? The ownership will reduce your initial intention might be misdirected. And there are also high expectations, so there might be pressure for you to deliver based on what you agree on. Other sources of funds for an entrepreneur would be grants. These grants are money that you are given by government or donors, but that you should not pay back. These have advantages in that there's no payment that is needed, it's free, and or may come with training or mentorship. Also, we encourage innovations aimed at specific sectors like the agriculture. The advantages, it's highly competitive because there are too many people who want free things, so you might not be the only one to get. And there are also restrictions. The funds may be perceived to be used in a particular process, and also it's time consuming to apply. Other source of finance is what we call trade credit. Trade credit is a source of short-term financing that entrepreneurs will get through suppliers having to give them goods to pay on a later date. So it improves your cash flow because you don't really need to apportion the money that you can use for rentals and others. Convenient and easier than loans. Use relationships. Problem is it's only short term and may affect your credit ratings if you delay to pay. And also supplier control. When there are delayed payments may lead to some of the suppliers being held and they will lead you having what are called stock out costs because in that case you may be inconvenienced. So what are some of the 5 things that lenders should consider before giving out credit to entrepreneurs? What are some of the things? This is practical, we should know. Number 1, credit history, collateral, what business plan you have. Okay, credit history, we have CRB where you're going to see how your performance has been in terms of reliability. Okay, you'll look at collateral, what you've pledged to secure the loan in the case of a default. What other things do they consider? A business plan, okay, cash flow projection, and the character of the borrower. Okay, what character does he have? Okay, it matters. So these are all important factors that must be considered. So it will show the one who's lending you. So in terms of business plan, it will outline the goals, the market analysis, how they intend to pay back, the profitability, the viability of the business, the cash flow, expected cash flows, income and expenditure account showing ability for business to pay. So here lenders want to know that the entrepreneur will make consistent payments. The character is also important. In this case, although it may not guarantee anyone can fake character or stand in. So here you want to look at the integrity, the trust that one may have. So basically this is a 40-mark question, 2020. The questions are discuss the 4 budgeting models. What are the models that we talked about? We talked about many. What are the 4 budgeting methods we talked about? Number 1.
We talked about incremental budgeting, zero-based budgeting, rolling budgeting, and activity-based.
Activity-based, and I explained how each of them are really the advantages and disadvantages. Then what are some of the 5 sources of finance for entrepreneurs? Five sources of finance for an entrepreneur.
We have discussed about personal savings, also relating to traders. We also discussed about bank loans. We also discussed venture capital. We also discussed trade credit.
Okay, thank you so much. So we end here for now.